Over the years, as life stresses and a difficult marriage created an environment where Rose Ann Forte turned to alcohol to check out of life's problems, she understood during the COVID-19 pandemic that if she didn't take action, it would kill her. Realizing that only when the pain was great enough did she start to pay attention. Now the author of The Plans He Has for Me, Rose Ann has transformed her life and inspires others in the position she once was. She believes her experiences were so valuable that she finds joy in being the pawn in somebody else's journey. When things are hard to go through, even if we can't see it in the moment, and it doesn't matter if you can't feel it today, if you put one foot in front of the other and you have hope, it leads you to the next step and into a journey in places you never thought you'd go. Oh, and don't forget to stop and smell the roses. On today's episode, I have Rose Ann Forte. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Talia?
Yeah, I'm also great. I'm great as well. So where in the world are you based?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona in the United States.
Very nice, very nice. I love the United States.
And I love the UK, so we're good.
I find that a lot when I say to somebody that I like where they are, they tell me they also like London or the UK, so it's nice to hear it.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Yeah, so obviously today we're here to talk all about you and your story. So the floor is over to you. You can start anywhere you want.
Okay, well, my story, I want to kind of go backwards because the reason that you asked me to be on the podcast is you noticed a book I wrote, and it's a daily devotional for how to put alcohol to the side. And really, the story then goes backwards from there about how it got created and written. And it was, a story about, it's my story, right? It's a story of a lot of personal suffering over, I'm quite older than you, decades. And just doing what society kind of tells you to do in terms of drinking alcohol. That's what this is about, the story, right? I was brought up with parents who drank and had fun and did it for pleasure. I started drinking at a very young age to be cool. I went to college. There was a lot of partying there. I ended up being in business. I was a successful executive, and of course, the martini lunches, the happy hours, the business meetings, alcohol, and the boardrooms actually back then. I don't know if it's as prevalent now, but back then, there was an alcohol cabinet in the boardroom. And I think TV, if you watch TV or movies, they will show, right, the lawyer in the office pouring the bourbon, right? And so a lot of that. Then you get married and or you start dating, and it's about the romanticism of having that glass of wine with somebody else, right? Over time you have kids, and it was shocking. It's like, okay, we're going to have a 2-year-old's birthday party, and the cooler is filled with alcohol. And eventually it's everywhere. And so you start using it for stress, you start using it for entertainment, you start using it for romanticism. It's, and like with everything, it becomes a habit, right?
Yeah.
I'm stressed, drink. I need to relax, drink. I want to have fun, drink, right? It's, and not to mention, it's an addictive substance, right? And it takes a long time to get to this point, but if you're not careful or aware of how this progresses, one day you go, you know what? I need to put this to the side because it's not, it's not doing me good. And you recognize maybe it's harder to lose weight, or you have a hangover, or you said something, right? And you're like, I really got to pull back on this. And it starts being a struggle. And that is the beginning of what I call psychological slavery, to where you start negotiating with yourself, making promises to yourself that you're not keeping. And with every promise broken, the trust in yourself breaks. And it's really it's really kind of a sad decline because over, a decade of really trying to manage it, my mental health was in a pretty bad state, in terms of depression and anxiety. I was dealing with a very difficult marriage. It was difficult for all the years of our marriage, and so we used it for that romanticism, the partying, but I also used it to check out. So I found myself in trouble, and I found myself going through a really bad divorce. My drinking escalated even more, and then COVID hit, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this is really bad." And I think the only way I'm going to survive COVID is to quit drinking, because people don't understand how much alcohol affects your body. I mean, it's made with ethanol, right? And it depresses your immune system and it depresses your lung function, two things which you really need to survive COVID, right? Anyway, I quit on my own out of fear, but then I joined a coaching program. It was a worldwide coaching program on Zoom, of course, because it's during COVID. And I transformed so much in 90 days that I was like, this is absolutely incredible. And my joy, my happiness, my self-confidence, my blood pressure went down, my weight went down, just all of the benefits. And I'm a Christian, and whether you're a Christian or not, a lot of people end up praying about this, right? God, they turn to God when God, please take this away from me.
Yeah.
And I had done that for quite a few years, and it didn't go away. And then I realized when I went through this coaching program that all of the things I learned there were the wisdom of God that I had read previously. I ended up working for them, being a coach, enrolling people, understanding people's secret suffering. Like there's a lot of it. We're all kind of going through these same mental gymnastics. And I decided to document everything with God's word instead, because the coaching program I was in was super expensive. And I wanted people to gain access to the concepts for, a reasonable price. And I think God has a big say or not say, he can inspire us to stay the path, because a lot of people, even after going through that 90 days, they're doing so great, and then they choose alcohol again. So, and that's what I did. I wrote a book. I created a website for people to get access to information. Just www.theplansehasforme.com. And I just helping people change their lives and transform.
Yeah. And I think that's what the amazing thing is because of what you've been through, you're now helping others change their lives and, like you said, transform. And what I think I love the most is, depending on what you are going through, is sometimes the right help, let's say, is very expensive and people can't afford to get certain help. So when something like a book or a website from someone that's been through it themselves comes around, sometimes that actually is all someone needs.
Right. I agree. It's just that inspiration for something better, that hope, and being a perfect person of faith. I believe that God uses everything for good. So despite where we are, that's quite frankly, that's where the name of the book came from, right? The plans he has for me. Because when I was in my deepest and darkest moments, I actually used to pray and just say, God, I'm kind of done here. Like, you can take me away and I won't mind. But I also recognized a verse, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Right, God. Sure. Because it's hard to see, but I did walk in faith that there
Yeah.
was some sort of plan that it would be revealed, and here I am, right?
Yeah.
From this abyss to here, and I know that's available to everyone if they walk in faith forward, knowing that
Mhm.
their um, their pain and suffering will be used for something good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's it's the line, everything happens for a reason. And
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, which I'm a big believer of. And, it's interesting to see some people that I've met and spoken to, after their darkest, hardest times, their lives have just bloomed and blossomed and, gone into directions that maybe before would never have gone that way, all because of, adversity or something they've been through.
Right. Have you ever heard? I didn't know this until the past couple of years, but apparently Christopher Reeves, at the end of his life,
Hmm.
some reporter asked him, you know, if you could change something, what would you change about your life? And he said, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most incredible responses, because if we look at Christopher Reeves, Superman, Hollywood, handsome, money, like everything that our society says is important, right? That man
Mhm.
had it.
Yeah.
And yet, the reason he said he would change nothing is that gave him purpose. It
Yeah.
gave him purpose to help other people, to advance research, and he spent his life with purpose. And that just really goes to show
Yeah.
you how powerful purpose can be. And I believe we're all created with a gift that can be used, and a lot of times alcohol gets in the way
Hmm.
of using that gift. Like, who has time
Yeah.
to use our gift when we're drinking, recovering from drinking, and thinking about how to quit drinking? That,
Yeah. Yeah.
that takes up a lot of time. And
Yeah.
I just think if we focus, we all have such unique gifts. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's flower arranging, singing, bowling, you know, racing, bike riding. We all have a gift, and we know we have that gift, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we know there's something more in us, and we have
Yeah.
this fear of developing it or spending time on it, because we have this is another commonality, I think, to humanity, is the bullying that goes on in our heads. We say
Yeah.
things to ourselves that we would never say to another human being. And
Hmm.
when we understand um, the unfortunate power of those, well, fortunate or unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what your thoughts are. I don't know if it's Henry Ford that said this, but whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard
Yeah.
that before?
Yeah. But I agree exactly with that, because it's the power of your thoughts. And if you believe you can do something, you'll be able to do it. But if you think negatively and you think you can't do something, then you're not going to be able to do it, because you're not telling yourself you can. So yeah, no, I completely
And
agree
you're
with that.
not even trying, right?
Yeah.
If you say you can't do it, it's a guarantee you won't, because you're
Yeah.
not trying. But even if you say I can do something and you shoot farther than your goal, and that's, I think, another thing that people are afraid of is to dream, and to
Hmm.
dream big. Because if we can dream and dream big, even if we fall short of that, look what we've achieved,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To use failures along that journey as opportunities to learn and gain wisdom, not to beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And it's definitely something that I see a lot of people not wanting to dream big, because they think it's impossible, or they think it's way too far out of reach. But look at what some of the people in this world are doing. And I'm pretty sure, had you sat them down 10, years ago and told them that's what they were going to do, they probably thought, no, I'm not.
yeah.
And, these are the kind of people that have dreamt and, chased their dreams and got them. So if they can do it, you can as well.
Well, and it's about believing in yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think Oprah was fired from a radio station because she was too emotional in her reporting. I think Walt Disney was fired as a result of not being creative enough. And what if we believe those things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
We
get,
wouldn't have Disney.
and I am such a strong proponent of, you know, finding your purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's embedded in the plans he has for me. How do you find your purpose? And it's not like, oh, you're going to find it right away, but if you pursue your gift, chances are you will find a purpose somewhere in there, right?
Yeah.
At least you'll have fun trying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And whether that's dancing, like I said, we have some math. Everybody has a gift, and I
Yeah.
just think too many of us go, nah, nah, I'm gonna do this because it
Yeah.
makes money. And I always tell my kids when they would talk about what should I do, and I go, if you do what you love, I promise you'll be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's also the thing is people have a destination, they have a goal, a dream, but life is about enjoying the journey. Life is the journey and the people you meet and the places you go. And you can have that end goal, but the journey to there can be incredible. Roller coaster full of ups and downs, yes, but it can be incredible.
I agree, and that's actually what I missed in my life. I was very driven towards success and money and
Yeah.
status and a lot of those things, and I forgot to the proverbial stop and smell the roses. Actually, I never
Yeah.
learned what that was
Yeah.
until later in life. And when we can stop and look at what's around us, look at what's beautiful, look at people and
Hmm.
their gifts, it just provides for a different experience. And I love what you just said about the roller coaster. um, it is a roller coaster, and I've learned that when I'm in the kind of the downswing, that I'm going to come out of it soon.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a place that I stay. I can process those feelings and feel them instead of drowning them out with alcohol, which
Yeah.
is what I did, and I know a lot of people do. It's a way not to process your feelings as if they're going to go away.
Yeah.
But when you wake up the next morning, the same problem and the same feelings are
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
right? So being clear-minded just allows us to weather those roller coasters so much better.
Yeah. And in an extract actually that I saw from you, you said that alcohol was how you found that maybe it was the way to check out of life's problems.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah, so kind of how do you mind explaining a little bit more about that then?
Yeah, I think the people that are most at risk, or what I've found in the science, is the people that
Mhm.
are most at risk for an alcohol or alcohol abuse are the people that are trying to check out of a problem or
Yeah.
some kind of trauma. And it's a way that does check you out, I guess, at the
Yeah.
beginning because it numbs all your senses. And because it worked at the beginning, you just keep using it. And so, what we teach and what I show people in the devotional and I teach in my coaching
Mhm.
is, as you said, you be present. Why are you reaching for that? Right?
Yeah.
Is it the stress or an anxiety? And teaching them to learn how to deal with that problem
Yeah.
the way we were meant and created to deal with that problem, which is clarity, thinking through, responding in more of a calm fashion.
Yeah.
I I became so reactive, right, and so angry at
Mm.
at the smallest things in life. And I think you'll find that anyone suffering from a substance abuse is like they're on edge, and
Yeah.
it's a two-edged sword. Their body is withdrawing from the the substance, at least in the initial term. It only takes 2 to 4 weeks to really bring your body back in homeostasis with the substance.
Hmm.
The rest is just a habit, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And unfortunately, like in dry January, which it is now, people know they need a detox, right? They've been
yeah,
drinking too much. They'll spend 31 days without alcohol, but they're using willpower, and that is so hard.
yeah,
And by the way, it gets harder every year you do it. And a lot of clients I've talked to, they get scared because all of a sudden 1 year they can't finish dry January, right?
yeah,
But what happens when you use willpower is you've detoxed your body, you're feeling fabulous, right? And then you
yeah,
develop confidence, like now I can control it, right? But your habit
yeah,
goes right back into the cycle. As a matter of fact, a lot of people drink more afterwards because they've so missed it,
yeah,
right? Because of the willpower, that in general, a lot of times they'll start drinking more. And yeah, so it's really interesting. It's good for some people who are just like, oh, I need a detox, and they're not. But for many,
yeah.
it's really a signal that, uh-oh, I'm trying to control this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think habits, I mean, habits are extremely hard to break. Whatever your habit is, it's extremely hard to break. And especially if it's become in inverted commas, a negative habit, it's very hard to break. And the thing is, people become comfortable with the habits, and it becomes a safety blanket to whatever is actually going on, I believe.
It does, and it becomes rote. So what I've learned through the science is when we do it, our brain, it was designed so that we don't have to learn something new every
Yeah.
day. So we learn our route to and from work, right? And then all of a sudden one day we're talking on the phone, we're in
Yeah.
the car with somebody, and we get to and from work without even knowing what happened. And we're driving safely too. So what's happening in that moment? It's that our subconscious mind memorized the routine,
Yeah.
and it's operating in the background. And that's why the awareness is so key, because the 10% of our conscious mind, if it stops and looks at what's happening, can see what's happening in the operating system.
Yeah.
And the operating system just wants to go on repeat. All it is a tape recorder. Press play, press play,
Yeah.
press play. And so if we can stop and be aware of that routine that's happening, that's why all the habits are hard to break, because
Yeah.
we've embedded them there. So we learn them. And you're
Yeah.
right. It's so much. It doesn't matter if it's a routine in the morning that's positive, or kind of looking at our phones when we wake up. They're all bad habits are super hard to break
Yeah.
because they're uncomfortable, right? And we all want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. But I
Yeah.
always tell people to lean into the discomfort
Yeah.
of breaking the habit, because that's the signal that you're making a change.
Yeah.
And so many of us want change, but we don't want to experience the discomfort.
Yeah.
But once you understand what's going on in that operating system and understand that it's a little uncomfortable, but there's so
Yeah.
many rewards to look forward to,
Mhm.
that's when it happens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I've learned myself is you, like I said, you find safety in the habit, whatever, your habit is, and that discomfort can be it can be horrible in every way, but to put yourself through that discomfort is showing yourself and others that you want to change and you want to break it. And I remember, I've learned that the more times you do put yourself through the discomfort, the closer you are getting to breaking said habit. And it's a whole thing where I used to think you can't change a habit when you've got it so ingrained, but I have learned that you can rewire your brain, and you can relearn things by doing something like that.
Absolutely, that concept of neuroplasticity, and that in itself gives us hope, right? And that's what we
Yeah.
need to do, is know that a new neural pathway can be made. And I think the science behind how long it takes, I don't know if you have a different number, but it says between 66 days and 222. So depending on how deeply ingrained the habit, whether or not it's substance related, but the point is it can be broken, and it's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun to I love to see my clients experience this transformation, because I have 84-day program, right? And so
Yeah.
most people, I encourage them to document. They're sleeping better,
Yeah.
they're probably exercising, they're calmer, there's no anxiety, right? There's so
Hmm.
many benefits. And I'm like, document them, because you want to remember where you started and where you came
Yeah.
from. And and when they're done, that's why I say only 12 weeks, it's choice based. Because most programs are like, ah, gotta do it forever, got a problem, gotta do it forever. And that is a frightening thing when you're so attached to a substance. And I like to, you know, empower people
Hmm.
to understand, what's happening, what's the changes, to get
Yeah.
excited and to look forward to something new and different. And so what I see after somebody successfully puts alcohol to the side after 12 weeks, they're like, well, what's next? I'm going to work
Yeah.
on my finances, I'm going to work on my health, I'm going to work on my
Yeah.
relationships. What's next? And that's,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, living life with what's next. That's
Yeah.
fun. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. To wake up every day and kind of have you know what you're going to do, but also today could go anywhere, and that's the exciting part. But
Right.
when you've got that clearer head or that clearer mind, or even when you're just more present, is when you can start to really see that excitement, I think.
Well, and it empowers you. Like I said, it gives you the strength to take what's thrown at you and process it, as opposed to being a
Yeah.
victim to it. I used to be such a victim to everything going on in the world, and I am
Hmm.
so happy to be free of that. I operate more in the realm of being fearless, using my
Yeah.
gift, using my voice, using my pain to tell people it's possible. Because,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I can do it, you can do it. How simple that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think we think a lot of things in life are impossible, but most of them they really aren't. So, but it's finding, your barriers, your obstacles, what you find is impossible. So I think that's the different thing. That's everyone's journey, everyone's story. So
I know. And I'm so glad that you are kind of doing this work to show people what's possible, because yeah, once you get on the hamster wheel of transformation, it's like, okay, what next?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It definitely is a what next, and I think that's the thing is from what I went through. Like what you've been through is you want to help people, but that's what I want to do is I want to help people as well, and I want to help people also find hope and see hope and realize that nothing is impossible, and believe me, there are plenty of things in my life that you know even 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I would have thought were impossible, and now they're not. Now I actually see them, and I'm telling myself, you know what, I can try this, I can do this, I am capable. But it's all about learning, and this is something I learned to do for me, and if I can help, and you as well, other people, that's kind of what we want to do.
there's a whole science of mindset, right? And how it helps health outcomes, which
Yeah.
you obviously know about. But there's a whole division at the National Institute of Health. It's a department. It's one of the world's largest grant making organizations
Okay.
to kind of give grants and review science. But they that's why the placebo effect
Hmm.
must be present in any pharmaceutical that gets approved, because the thoughts of healing and just the thought of believing
Yeah.
that you took something that will heal you actually heals you. If
Yeah.
you take a moment and think about how, like, wow, that is,
Yeah.
just thinking that you are healed heals your body. That's the definition of the placebo effect. And a
Yeah.
drug has to significantly um, help in that regard to get
Yeah.
approved. And the funny thing is, I just read recently, as it relates to drinking, there was a study done in 2019 that
Mhm.
said it's been really hard to find um, drugs that help with alcohol abuse
Mhm.
because the placebo effect is so high.
Yeah.
And I I don't disagree with that because I've seen the
Yeah.
transformation when people are excited about something. What's interesting, and I know you'll love and appreciate this, is the study also ended with, it's too bad that um, that more people focused in this area, i.e., putting alcohol, don't use more cognitive behavioral therapies
Mhm.
and awareness practices. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing, right? We're
Yeah.
we're doing cognitive behavioral theories. We're stopping and we're being aware of what's
Yeah.
going on in the operating system. So
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine that science agrees with us. Or we're
See?
agreeing with science, one or the other.
Either way. I like the way you frame it as an operating system because it makes a lot of sense. It does. So I really like the way that you do that.
Yeah, yeah, it resonates for people
Yeah.
because it's kind of a computer based, and that's what neurological pathways are, right? They're just operating systems.
Yeah.
But the good
Yeah.
news is
No.
we can reprogram them just like the computer
Yeah.
programs, right?
And I think that's the key is you can reprogram. And I think a lot of people don't realize they can. And I think that's a really big message is you can.
Right.
So,
And then I
yeah.
guess people talk about this all the time, but it'd be a shame not to kind of throw this in here. But this in the devotional, part of it's daily practice, but we do
Hmm.
throw in gratitude in there. We do not realize, I think we do not realize how much our negative thinking is really dragging us down. And if we
Yeah.
make it a daily practice of gratitude, we are filling that operating system
Yeah.
with things to look for when things go wrong, to kind of
Hmm.
look for the good in it, look for the
Yeah.
possibility of good. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I used to be one of those people. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I practice it and I'm like, oh, wait, this really works. So coming from experience of one of the people that poo-pooed it. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. I reckon a lot of people that now do practice it or do enjoy it, they dismissed it. Believe me, I'm sure everyone did at some point. But
yeah,
everyone's journey is different to lead you to maybe wanting to do it.
yeah. I have somebody that came into my coaching program at the beginning of the year, and he said, like, I've really avoided all these like awareness practices my whole life, but I guess I'm ready to to start.
Yeah.
I know, and you'll be all in when you understand
Yeah.
the benefits of it, you know.
Yeah. It's like sometimes I feel like people not a I don't like the word forced, but they are almost forced to do it because they maybe have gone their whole life being like no 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 no, and like you said, he came in and said, I guess I'm gonna try it now because it's like, you know what, I guess this is what I have to try now, and it's
Well,
amazing how much it changes.
it's super unfortunate, but I think it's the case for everything, right? When the
Yeah,
pain is great enough, we start paying attention,
yeah,
and it's so sad for me because I look back. Of course, I realize this at a much later place in life, and I hope that the younger generation, is
mm,
better equipped at understanding all these things. But what I've been very successful in my life, but the question is, what did I leave on the table? Right? What did
yeah,
I leave on the table? What was possible? I know that
yeah,
I left a lot of joy on the table and a lot of peace in my life. Um,
yeah.
but I don't know, the joy and peace I experience now is definitely making up for it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I'm going to ask you, would you, if you could go back and change anything, would you?
I think I have to have the same answer, right? Because I see, I see my experiences being so valuable for people,
Yeah.
and the joy I have and being a pawn and in the journey of somebody else that I
Yeah,
can inspire. I don't want people to suffer, right? But
yeah,
people just need to know that we can use that for good. Um,
yeah.
the I don't know what you have over there in the UK, but in the US, Mothers Against Drunk Driving was started years ago when a mother
Mhm.
lost her daughter to a drunk driver in a car accident. And what could be worse than losing a child? Yet
Yeah,
she did something so impactful to develop awareness of
yeah,
drunk driving. And so, even if we can't see it in the moment, because some things are super hard
yeah.
to go through,
Hmm.
as we're going through that, right? Whether it is a disability or the death of
Hmm.
someone or anything. But as long as we have hope that it will be used for something good,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you feel it today. You just put one foot in front of the other and know that it's possible. And I think
Yeah,
that leads you somewhere. It
yeah,
leads
I
you to
agree. I
take the
agree.
next step, right?
Yeah, yeah. And as long as you can take that first step, you know, each step you take afterwards leads you on to a journey and leads you into places that, yeah, could take you somewhere you never thought you'd go. So,
Well, yeah, and I mean, literally, when you took your first step, right? It's like it motivates you to take the next one, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember taking my first step. So, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course. And have you got kind of any advice for people kind of that are from your experience in your
You know,
story?
I my biggest advice is to have compassion for yourself,
Hmm.
stop beating yourself up, develop an awareness of what you're doing and without
Hmm.
shame, because it gives you facts to deal with. I would say be involved with the community. There's lots of communities out there. Um, if you purchase my book, you get access to a private Facebook group um, where you can be with like minded people.
Hmm.
And knowing you're not alone in your head, I always say this particular habit or alcohol
Hmm.
abuse, so much secret suffering going on.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to get people aware, like, don't keep that in your head. Don't suffer by yourself. There's just too many people out there that are experiencing the exact same thing. And when you realize that and you realize you're not alone, it becomes so much easier, and you get to see people before you, right? You get to see people, how people feel. And so that gives you hope to take the next step and the next day and the next month. And you know what I mean? So I think community, accountability, and stop the negative conversation. That's my biggest advice, right?
Yeah. That's the thing, is people don't realize that they're not alone, and whatever you're going through, it's an extreme, whoever you are, it's an extremely lonely experience. But I think the ironic thing is there is a whole world out there of people going through, some people in particular going through exactly the same thing as you are. And I think that's one thing, is people have no idea. And I think it's a huge message to know that you're just not alone.
Yeah, and that's with all bad habits and addictions, right? I think it's across the board, regardless of what it is. That's definitely the process of making change. Don't give up. You know what I mean? It can take people several attempts. It doesn't mean you're stuck forever. You just keep making the attempt, stop beating yourself up, and develop an awareness of what's going on. Because eventually, for all of us that have been stuck in this, we do it for enough times to go, I really don't want to say day one again. I'm really kind of done with that. But you have to have enough day ones and be aware of them. I used to have day ones and not be aware of how many I had. But if I had developed that awareness, well, every time I say day one, it's like, if I take that drink, it's going to be day one again. You know what I mean? And developing the awareness just empowers you to choose a different path.
Yeah, no, I agree. That makes a lot of sense. So, is there anything else that you want to discuss today?
No, I just want to encourage people that if they're looking for a solution to stopping their alcohol habit, my book is sold on Amazon, and it's called The Plans He Has for Me. And the website, theplansehehasforme.com, has a lot of resources, information about the coaching program, if you're interested, and also access to a quick start video for alcohol freedom. That's free. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning. Well, this morning for you, this evening for me.
I know. Well, it has been just a joy to talk to you. It's just nice to be across the pond too, right? And just know that there's so much commonality to humanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coach people around the world, and we're all the same. We're all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.